Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at Market Site, we have Michael Sokol. He's the Senior Managing Director on Nasdaq's Market Intelligence Desk with our midday update from the Mid. Thank you, as always, Michael, for joining us. And you know what? Stocks are a little bit lower on U.S. Trade Representative Lighthizer comments on the complexity of the trade deal. Who would have thought that it takes some negotiation?
Yeah, the market likes to look at the tweets and see all the positive to it, and it's obviously risen a lot based on that, but there's a lot to it. And he pretty much said just a lot of purchasing is not going to do it. There's a lot of other underlying structural issues that have to get worked out. So stocks sold off from about minus 50 points in the Dow to minus 150. Not a huge move, but just a recognition of how potentially difficult this can be.
Yeah, and even since then, they have recovered quite a bit of that, but even still, it's a quiet week for stocks.
It's a quiet week. It's interesting. 6 of the last 8 trading days, we've ended up higher than where we opened. So it seems like a bullish tone to it, despite. Some days, though, we're opening in the red and then moving higher. Today, we're down 50 on the Dow, but quiet week, small moves, not a heck of a lot going on, really.
Yeah, and you would think that it's not a vacation week, or, I mean, there are things going on. You have a number of Fed speakers, you have Powell on testifying in front of the Senate Banking Committee, so there definitely is news out there.
There's news. I think the market moving catalysts are either in front of us or behind us. So whether that's earnings, whether it's the Fed's decisions, even though Powell is speaking, he's not making new news on interest rate policy. It's more about just reiterating what's been out there already. Same with China. I don't think you're going to have anything for a week or two. So the market's just kind of waiting.
All right, let's take a look at the chart that you have up here, and we're looking at the 11 S&P 500 sectors, how they've performed for the month, the quarter, and the year. And there's some interesting things you can actually pull out of this.
Yeah, so the first thing that catches your eye is the double-digit returns on the year-to-date return. So, 8 out of 11 sectors are up in double digits, so that's pretty impressive right there. The average market sector, the average index is up about 13%. So you look for those that are outperforming, and certainly industrials, which has outperformed year-to-date and for the month, is way up there, and IT and materials, all of those kind of trade-focused.
Right.
So, you look at that and you say, okay, the market's expecting something on trade, and it's definitely back in a risk-on posture.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the whole thing. This is why they're hoping that something comes out of these trade negotiations, because that is quite a run. It's a substantial run. They're leading by a significant amount relative to the other sectors. It's interesting to see how real estate is kind of falling in line with the broader housing market data. Yeah,
real estate, there's some concerns on home affordability, and real estate and utilities have really been proxies for safety trades. And so you'll see, like in the case of utilities, underperforming for the year as people are moving more into those growth-oriented sectors.
All right, and even energy almost up 14% year to date, but kind of down there for the month.
Yeah, and a lot going on. That's more difficult to track because you have all these moves in the oil commodity, and with a lag, that's going to follow that. But there's a lot going on there that have nothing to do necessarily with stocks, but what's going on with the commodity.
This will be really interesting for us to track monthly. We have to remember to pull up this chart because you can get discern a lot of some pretty good fundamentals out of that. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us as always, and thank you for joining me throughout the day. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.